This is an AB4WS Radio Show Special event. Every year on the last Thursday of the year, the Greater Cincinnati Amateur Radio Association has the 1936 net in AM as a tribute to those past radio years and ring out the old and ring in the new year. Thanks to W8GNM Goeff, K8CJY Jay, both the net managers, and NM4A the net control for the net. And here is the 1936 net from December 28th, 2023. Enjoy.
Pre-net, looking for any stations that wish to check in, get on the roster for the net activities. Give a call now, and we will add you to the log. K8CJY listening. Heard down here, Jeff.
Okay, Jay, nothing heard up this way either. Well, we'll continue to call and listen for check-ins as we approach 9 o'clock for 0200 Zulu, which is the beginning of the official net, the 1936 annual AM night net. And hopefully, as conditions improve and the band lengthens out, we'll get some check-ins from further out to the west or southwest. So that's W8GNM standing by for anyone wishing to check in to the annual AM night net. Call now.
W8GNM, K8CJY.
Okay, I heard, I think it was a kilowatt 7. Go ahead. Station calling, call again, please. This is W8GNM. Nothing heard. I thought I heard a kilowatt 7 station calling. We'll stand by. Maybe they'll call again here in a minute. This is W8GNM. Looking for check-ins for the 1936 annual AM night. Call now, please.
Just a quick by the way, KU4YW, Chesapeake, Virginia, is hearing you, S9 down there. He cannot transmit due to an antenna issue, but is checked in via NetLogger. Jeff, go ahead. This is K8CJY.
Oh, okay. KU4YW in Chesapeake, Virginia. Okay. Sorry that you can't get on the air with your antenna or your transmitter, but we will add you to the log. Jay will add you to our roster. So thank you for checking in. And we'll take a standby for any other stations wishing to check in. This is W8GNM and the 1936 net AM night. Well, nothing heard at this end, so we'll keep going here. And Bill, NM4A, will be the master of ceremonies tonight for the net, which begins at 9 p.m. or 0200 Zulu. This is the pre-net, taking check-ins. We've had 32 check-ins so far, and so we'd like to have a lot more if anybody is able to get on AM and check in with us. And the net will continue on after 9 o'clock with Bill, NM4A, who's located just south of Cincinnati in Union, Kentucky. So this is W8GNM. I'm located up on Catawba Island on the western end of Lake Erie, just west of Sandusky, Ohio. So anybody wishing to check in, please call now. We'll get you on the net roster. a carrier up, but no audio. Somebody want to check in? Okay, this is W8GNM. My name's Jeff. I'm located up on Catawba Island on the western part of Lake Erie. I'm part of the Freenet operators, and we are taking check-ins for the annual Greater Cincinnati Amateur Radio Association's AM night. We do this once a year, last Thursday in December. It's an opportunity for people to get out their vintage AM gear, or their broadcast transmitter, or their modern SDR radio, and try it in AM mode. And so we're hoping to have a lot more check-ins tonight, and I'm sure we're going to hear some great sounding AM broadcast rigs as the night goes on. So we'll pick another standby for any check-ins who wish to get on the net roster. Call now, please. Nothing heard up here on the west end of Lake Erie. Jay, did you hear anything down at your end of the net?
Nothing heard down here. We're about 2 minutes away from the Master of Ceremonies stepping in. Back to you, Jeff.
Okay, Jeff. K8CJY and the 1936 AM night. This is W8GNM. Standing by for anybody wishing to check in to our annual AM night. Any amateur operator anywhere is welcome to check in. So we'd love to have some check-ins from all over the country. I think a couple of times we've had check-ins from as far west as Arizona. And we already have, check-ins from Iowa and a number of other Midwestern locations. So anybody wishing to check in as the night progresses and the band lengthens out, call now. This is W8GNM, standing by for any calls. Kilo 9, Foxtrot, Whiskey Tango. Very nice signal here on the west end of Lake Erie. Your name, location, and the type of equipment you're running, please.
Very good. My name is Ken. That's Kilo Echo November. And the QTH is Cary, Illinois. Charlie Alpha Romeo Yankee. That's 45 miles northwest of downtown Chicago. The equipment is an F2101E with an unamplified D104 running into an AL811. 100 watts of carrier to a 160-meter dipole fed without ladder line. Back to that, go ahead.
Okay, Ken. Got you in Cary, Illinois, northwest of Chicago. I didn't get all of it. You got running a D104 mic, and did you say you were running an FT101E? Is that correct?
That's a Roger.
Okay, a Fox Tango 101 Echo D104, and you said 100 watts power. Are you running an amplifier?
That's Roger. Using an AL811, 3811As, over.
Okay, QSL on the AL811, 3811s, and what's your antenna?
The antenna is a 160-meter dipole fed with ladder line.
Okay, 160-meter dipole fed with ladder line. Okay, very good. Thank you. Well, it's working out well for you. And I think you said you're running, about 100 watts of carrier and about 400 watts PET?
That's a Roger.
Okay, very good, Ken. The QSL on that I'm located on Catawba Island, which is near Sandusky, Ohio. I'm also running a 160-meter dipole, although mine is fed with coax and a balance. And my rig is a Flex 6600M, driving a Flex solid-state amplifier, a PGXL. And I'm running about 300 watts of carrier and around 1,200 watts PEP out. So that, and I have a broadcast audio line up here with an Orban 9200 processor and some Symmetrics voice processors. So anyway, that's the line up here. We got you in the log. Hopefully you can stick around for a little while. And you are check-in number 33. So with that, I will turn it over to Bill, NM4A, who is the official net control as we begin the actual net right now. We just had a pre-net, and Bill, NM4A, is going to take it from here. So, all right, Bill, NM4A, this is W8GNM.
Okie dokie. W8GNM from November Mike 4 Alpha. Good evening, everyone. Just checking the controls here. And it looks like everything's okay. CQ. Calling CQ for the Greater Cincinnati Amateur Radio Association 1936 net. The GCARA 1936 net meets every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on this frequency, 1936 kilohertz, plus 3.5 QRM. This net was founded in 1936 by a group of amateurs who were members of the newly formed Greater Cincinnati Amateur Radio Association. It was reestablished in 1986 as part of the 50th anniversary celebration of the GCARA. The net has met ever since on this frequency every Thursday evening at this time. Tonight, however, since it's the last Thursday of the year 2023, we are having our special AM edition of the net. And as Jeff and Jay and all the other pre-net stations have said before me, everyone is welcome, especially with modern equipment, old-time equipment, all kind of equipment. And we'll go over what we're running here in just a second. You do not have to be a member of the GCARA to check in. QRP mobile and special interest stations are always welcome. Well, my name is Jay, K8CJY, and Jeff, W8GNM. Your net control station tonight is November Mike 4 Alpha. The name here is Bill, and I'm located in Union, Kentucky, about 15 miles southwest of downtown Cincinnati, Ohio. First of all, is there any emergency traffic? Okay, are there any announcements for the net? Okay, do we have any QRP or mobile check-ins? Okay, wow, I'll tell you what, am I getting on? No, I'm kidding. Okay, usually we have a trivia question, but tonight, however, since this is the AM edition, that will be supplanted? By a discussion question, and that is, hey, what about the rig you're using? Any interesting history about it, its origins, or where it came from, or how it's vintage and stuff, and any other topics like that concern the AM session tonight. Okay, now instead of the traditional roll call, we do have a pre-net check-in list. It's available on NetLogger, and I'm going to go down that list. But before I do that, I'm going to ask, are there any other check-ins? Any relays on check-ins?
Yeah, there was a call. The station was just trying to check in phonetically. Whiskey Bravo 8 Bravo Zulu, finish it for me. Okay, I got Whiskey Bravo 8 Bravo Zulu Kilo, is that correct? Okay, did you get that, Bill?
Yes, I did. I got that written down. WB8 Bravo Zulu Kilowatt. And we will call you back here in just a second. You are, I think you're on the list. I don't see it showing up there yet, but I got it on my paper list here, and we'll get it on there one way or the other. I'm sure Jay is out there listening. Oh, there it is. It just showed up. How about that? Okay. Now it's time to officially get on the list of stations, and here we go to hear about all that fine AM equipment. I'll start off by saying that the rig here is kind of a classic. It's a heavyweight. It supposedly comes in at 1,200 pounds in this configuration. It's a GPT 750. It's got the sideband exciter, independent sideband exciter built in, the tube version. However, I'm using an external TMC MMX2A early solid state exciter. And GPT 750 is all hollow state at top end, but this exciter is an early solid state one. It's very finicky, and discerning listeners will notice that I am 100 hertz high. I should be exactly 100 hertz high, and that's because that's where the old baby will lock up. It won't lock up right on dot zero. So hey, you have to do what you got to do. Receiver here is an R388. The antenna is a 160 meter dipole fed by a 450 ohm line with a homebrew sausage slicer tuner mounted on a plywood board, just like the radio gods intended it. Okay, on that note, we're going to go to the first station on the list, W8GNM. Jeff, welcome to AM Night, and over to you.
Okay, Bill. NM4A in the net. This is W8GNM. My name's Jeff. I'm located on Catawba Island, the western part of Lake Erie, northwest of Sandusky. I am running a Flex 6600M, driving a Flex PGXL solid-state amplifier at about 350 watts carrier and about just a little under 1.5 kW TEP. The antenna is a dipole antenna at about 50 feet above ground level, and I'm using a Palstar AT Auto tuner since the antenna is not resonant on this frequency. So back to net, NM4A in the net, W8GNM.
Okay, W8GNM from November Mike 4 Alpha. Jeff, great to hear you. It's sounding good tonight. I cannot give out estimated reports like is my normal inclination to do, because I'm not the receiver that I normally use for that cannot be connected up into service tonight due to some other equipment malfunctions here. So I will say that you were loud and clear in an armchair copy. How about that? So that's going to have to be that's going to have to do for tonight. Okay, moving right along down through the list, WB8WSR. Ted, are you out there from NM4A in the net?
Yes, sir, sure am, and I'm certainly glad to be here tonight. And say I'm hearing most of the stations, and they sound pretty good. And let's see, this is FT990, and I'm running about 80 watts of peak, and 20 watts of carrier, 22 watts of carrier. And the antenna is an inverted L. It started out being resonant on 160, but I added 40 feet to it and a capacitor at the feed point, and it works a lot better that way. So that's what I'm using right now. So that's the way it goes, and sure hope we have a good new year. Back to you, Bill.
Typing at the typewriter there. Okay, WB8 typewriter at the computer board. WB8WSG from November Mike 4 Alpha. You're a solid 5.9 copy. So good to hear you tonight, and the rig is doing wonderfully, and thank you for joining us. Well, let's go on down the list here to November Delta 8 Delta. November Delta 8 Delta. And that's Andrew in Ohio, in Oregonia, Ohio. Andrew, are you there from NM4A in the net?
NM4A in the net, here is ND8D.
Yes, I am here. Happy to be here. Little detail on the rig tonight. It's all modern ICOM 7610 driving an Expert 1 KFA that is running strictly half power as the manual prescribes. Otherwise, the finals do get quite hot. So we're putting about 600 watts PEP if the monitors to be believed. And that's all going into a pretty standard half-wave inverted V hanging off the middle of the tower, and almost entirely on my property, but some of it does go to the neighbors, and they're okay with that. I was hoping to have a Johnson Viking 2 ready for the evening, but that didn't quite make it, and I don't feel like rushing when it comes to triple-digit voltages that can knock you straight through a wall. So maybe next year that'll make it on, but I think there's at least one other on the air, and I heard they're doing fine. Anyway, seems like net attendance on AM night is a bit like church attendance on Christmas. Everybody comes out of the woodwork, but that includes me. Just hope everybody had a Merry Christmas, and we'll have a Happy New Year. And with that, I'll hand it back to NM4A the Net Control. Here's ND8D.
All righty, very good. Well, very nice signal, and that sounds like a great rig up there. And I'm with you. You got to be super careful, and you don't want to be in a hurry. You know, I had some equipment malfunctions. I didn't have time to get set up this year due to family obligations and some other stuff going on. And we're throwing in at the last moment, and I decided to quit troubleshooting. The same kind of thing you did. It's like, hey, we'll go with what seems to be up and running, and we'll try to figure out what the issues are, what grumblings that Murphy has unleashed on us later on. But anyway, you were also 5'9", and Jeff W8GNM was 5'9" plus 10. So that's I'm going to try to just give some general reports like that based on a subjective evaluation of the signal on the R388 here. It does have a meter. It's calibrated in dBs, but it flies all over the place. So I don't think much of that. Okay, WR4T TR. I'll bet I know what you got running. WR4T from NM4A in the Net.
Okay. NM4A WR4T. Well, I think I'm going to go with a couple of bookends on a couple of different stations. Right now, we'll start off with the Flex 6400, which is exciting, a Drake L7, running low voltage on the plates, about 1700 volts on the plate. Looks like about 125 watts carrier, about 500 watts PEP. I thought I'd start off with the Flex, but I will switch over to the boat anchor here and stand by one. I'll key up the boat anchor, and it will be drifting a little bit, but that's okay. Okay, there we go. Looks like we got the boat anchor up. And we're running, close to 300 watts of carrier on the BC610E. So this is a Hallicrafters manufactured BC610. It was manufactured during World War II. The different assemblies on it have date codes that are in between, I think, early June of 1945 out to July of 1945. So it was made in between VE and VJ Day. We also have the BC614 speech amplifier. That was not made by Hallicrafters. The BC614E was made by General Transformer Corporation, also in Chicago. So that's the setup. The BC610 has a 250TH in the final. And it's got plug-in coils with swinging link coupling, and it's modulated by a pair of 100 THs. The 100 THs are driven by a pair of 2A3 low-mu triodes in push-pull, and then the BC614E drives the 2A3s. The The receiver that I made up with this is a Drake R4B. And then our antenna is a 3/8 wave inverted L, which at the base measures around 100 plus J500. It's a fair amount of inductive reactance on 160. That's partially tuned out with a series capacitance, probably about minus 200 J reactance to there, and then we're feeding that with about 200 feet of hard line, and then the tuner in the shack matches it all up. Looks like I might have been a little bit out of resonance there, so anyway. Anything else? I think I've covered most of it, Bill. And maybe you can give me a little bit of feedback on the Flex versus the BC610E. NM4A, WR4T.
Okay, TR, WR4T from November Mike 4 Alpha. Well, that is a good sounding setup. And I got to tell you what, surprisingly, I couldn't tell much difference. They both sound very, very good. Now, I have to admit, in the defense of the Flex, I'm listening on an old R388 with a Atlas reentrant horn speaker, the kind you used to see on paging things, out in the parking lot of the used car lot. It says Atlas. Those things are they're great for sideband, and and they don't have much frequency response below, I guess a couple hundred cycles. I've never really messed with them, tried to figure out the low end too closely, but they don't have much load. So I suspect if I was listening on a wider bandwidth receiver, I could hear, give you a more detailed report. But they both sounded very good on the setup here tonight. So normally we do listen with an R4C and an AM filter, which would have been much more, what would I say, a better setup to evaluate the signal, but that's not available tonight. Okay, now we're going to go over to another station in the greater Cincinnati area, K8CJY, and I think you have hollow state equipment. Is that right, Tom?
Yes, I do. Good evening, Bill. NM4A the Net, K8CJY. Well, the normal radio here at the desk operating station is a K4 made by Elecraft, and it's very most recent solid state product. And it's gone back to the factory for some updates with an early production run on a couple issues with it, so it's off on holiday. So coming in from a commodity for MKX3, so they're started to a Elecraft KPA 1500. And the 1500 is doing okay, but it really could use a couple more watts to drive. I think peak from what I'm seeing here is only about 200 watts or so. It's not ideal for it, but it's getting by. As far as the antenna, it's just a simple inverted L with 3 elevated radials that are tuned, and it has served me well here on 160. Copying pretty well. There are a couple that I've been down here that just making calls earlier, but generally copying good. TR's BC610 sounds wonderful for something made, you guys can do the math, but during the war, but 30 years ago, but anyway, I guess it's 80 now. Anyway, you can correct me on that. But anyway, doing a great job, TR. Hey, just one question to you, and that's what is the history of AM night? When was the first? When did AM night? When was that established? You might just be the person to ask. So again, you're doing a wonderful job, TR. NM4A in the Net, K8CJY.
Oh, what a question. K8CJY from NM4A, and I can give you some a bit of information about the answer, but I don't have the exact answer at my fingertips. But you know what? I should have researched that and found out. I can tell you, Tom, K8CJY from NM4A, by the way, in case I didn't do that, I can tell you that it started back when Al W8PBX was net manager, and maybe Jay or Jeff know. This was a long time ago, and I remember bringing it up because I had been playing with a Viking 2 and getting on AM, and I still have that Viking 2 over there. Don't run it on 160 anymore, but I run it on 80 meters a lot though. And we, kind of said, hey, let's do it on the last Thursday of the year, over the holidays. So that's kind of how that started. And I don't know the exact year, but it's been a while ago. I mean, I want to say, I want to say it had to be back in the 80s or 90s. It's been going a while. And I'm going to try to look back through my records here and see if I got anything else, got anything from back then. But I might not do it, might not be able to get it done while the net's going. But that is a great question. So I should have been prepared for that. So, Tom, great hearing you. You're doing good. Your fill-in rig is a valiant stand. I mean, it's a good standby. It's a good standby. It's doing a good job. Okay, K8CJY, one of our net managers over in Madeira, and I'm going to turn the RF gain down on the boat anchor receiver because you might knock it off the table. K8CJY from NM4A.
Okay, Bill, very good. NM4A and the 1936 Net AM night edition, I should say. Good answer. I think it was in the early to mid-90s from what I remember from Al. I've been part of the net since about the year 2000, although I did listen in a bit before that, but didn't have 160 capability. I think there are, not on the net tonight, but W0ALC, who is going to be visiting here sometime later this coming month, would be able to give us a good answer there. Well, the station here is kind of like several of the others. It is a Flex 6600. Not an M, but being driven by a Maestro in terms of control, a PGXL amplifier, a TGXL tuner, and driving the audio chain starts with a Heil mic. The Heil mic's driving a Symmetrix 528E Mic Pro, driving a Harris stereo mixer broadcast audio console, which is driving an Orban 9200, and that is driving the output of the audio chain is driving all of the rigs here in the shack. There are multiple rigs. There's a 6600, a 6700, a Collins KWM2A, and a Drake 4C line, plus an ICOM VHF UHF rig. So the same audio chain drives all of the rigs here in the shack. The antenna is an inverted V, and it is, strange description. It is supported by a 55-foot Roan tower, but the antenna is essentially 80 feet above terrain, and that's because the terrain behind the tower into the backyard drops off almost 30 feet to the far end of the antenna. So technically we could say the antenna is at 80 feet above the terrain, but it's actually 50 feet. 50-some feet, 55 feet above the feed point. So that's the rundown on the rig, and we're hearing almost all of the stations. We do have a BevFlex 4 receive setup with a switcher. So we have an EWE that runs southwest northeast, and we have a flag antenna made out of BevFlex gear that is running essentially due east-west. So those are the receive antennas that are being used tonight. With that, back to net control. Doing a great job, Bill. NM4A K8CJY.
All right, Jay, K8CJY, NM4A. Well, thank you, and you're sounding great tonight. You hit 5.9 plus 30. Now that's a subjective measurement, but you are giving the old needle on the R388 a really good slam into the tag. So there you go. And I did look up, I had a hard drive failure a few years ago, and I used to have some audio files and everything from the early AM net. Still got that drive somewhere, so I'd never get the data off it, which I understand is like super expensive and difficult. But anyway, the earliest I can find is early 2000, where I have records on this particular PC. But I think it went back before that. All right, let's go on down the list now because it's going to be a long night. And hey, we're going to go over to Southgate, Kentucky. I had a couple of segments from Southgate. Ted, ground your antenna because here comes Lynn. K8CJY. I don't think you're Santa Claus, Lynn, but K8CJY. Here you go from NM4A.
Very good, Bill. We found that this thing working tonight. We have a switch receiver on the Okay, Lynn, K8CJY from NM4A. Well, great to hear you. Yeah, sounding magnificent, sounding just great. And you're 5.7, so, not moving the needle quite much. Steady Q5 copy, no problem at all. And it's great to hear you, and congratulations on getting all the stuff moved. That is great. So your signal is doing good, and it's great to hear you. Thanks for being there. All right, we're going to go up to a fellow Drake user. Usually on this net, I'm running a Drake line when I run sideband, but of course tonight we're not doing that. And W8GNM in Franklin, Ohio, near Dayton, is running a Drake line, which of course isn't far from its original home. Okay, Mark, W8GNM. Let's hear that Drake from NM4A.
Okay. How about if I turn the amplifier on here? I was checking the exciter tuning a little while ago on the dummy load, and I didn't have the amplifier engaged, but I do now. So that's peaking about 800 or 900, and looks like the carrier's around about 100 right now. Very good. So anyway, I just enjoying tonight to have the opportunity to bring in a few of the stations at the beginning of the net. That was a lot of fun, and to play around with the old equipment here. This is indeed using a D104 and a processor that came from originally a code practice oscillator with vacuum tubes, and feeding into the T4XC transmitter. So my voice is still a little bit hoarse and probably doesn't quite sound normal, but But anyway, that's a quick rundown, and of course the antenna is the 80-meter folded horizontal loop being end-fed on 160, so that it becomes a rather effective 160-meter antenna fed against the metal tower here, which also radiates some. So I have both vertical and horizontal components in the pattern. So I guess that's about what I got here tonight. It's great to hear everybody out there, and I love to hear the old tube equipment on this net when it comes around there, and the home brew and everything like that. So back to you there, Lynn. K8CJY from W8GNM Jay.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think I'll take it. Okay, real fine. W8GNM NM4A. Well, you know, Lynn and I are on here enough. You can get us confused easily, and I'm easily confused, by the way. But hey, real good on the performance. Getting the amp on did make a difference. You were 5.9 plus 10, probably about 5.9 without the amp. So you definitely could tell the difference here, but it is sounding good. And hey, FM broadcast stations and you satellite guys move over here to Ireland running dual polarization. I don't think it's circular though coming off. Like you said, it's probably horizontal and vertical and something in between now and then. So very, very good, sounding good. Okay, now let's go down to historic Fairfax Station, west in Virginia. And what? That's not historic equipment. What is going on there, Steve? W8GNM NM4A.
Yeah, good evening, Bill. NM4A W8GNM from historic Fairfax Station, Virginia. Well, everybody is sounding very nice. And Bill, you're sounding just great on the vintage gear that the temperature in good old Fairfax Station is 50 degrees, so we're experiencing our very common little, December warm-up time period. But after the first of the year, we're going to go off a cliff, but that's okay. So we've got great weather here and had a very nice Christmas. Hope everyone else did. Okay, what are we running here? We're running a Flex radio, a 6700 SDR Flex transceiver, and that is driving an Ameritron AL1500 amplifier. Got some nice iron in there, and a power grid vacuum tube, a 3CX1500A7 by IMAX. Funny that's a novelty now that was so common for so many decades, but I guess it's a good solid state product now because of Okay, let's see. The antenna is an inverted L, about 40 feet vertical. The rest is folded over horizontal to the east. Commercial audio processor, and it drives the Flex radio directly here. So hopefully we're sounding good, and a lot of fun on AM night. I look forward to this night. Great. And thanks for getting over and back on the air. Happy to you, and happy to wishes to everyone on the net. That's from 2024. Alrighty, W4YHD from November Mike 4 Alpha. Well, you are certainly sounding good with your rig here, and I'll tell you what, the antenna system, the audio system sounds great. Now, good signal. You know, we're quite a distance apart, and you're about 5 over. 5.9 plus 5, or so I'm going to say. So really sounding good there. Got to use the cough button, by the way. And good to hear you in there tonight, and it's always great to hear that signal from historic Fairfax Station. All right, KB9 OMH is listed as a short timer. I'm going to take a quick listen to see if Jim's still there. Jim, are you still there? No, I think Jim was probably in and out. So I talked to Jim on 40 meters quite a bit, and we'll be looking to see him there again. So I'm going to give him the old
on my call list here. Okay, note that. Now, we're going to go to the other station in Southgate, Kentucky. These guys are only, they're not that far apart. I think one of them could feed one end of the long wire, and the other one could feed the other. But they have to coordinate that to avoid blowing up receivers, right, Ted? AI4XD. Now, here's some vintage equipment from NM4A the Net. Over to you, Ted.
Okay, Bill. Good evening, everybody. This is AI4XD. The rig here is a totally stock Viking 2 with a totally stock Drifty Viking 122 VFO, and this is driving a home-built Elnet tuner for 160, dedicated to 160, and a 175-foot inverted L with a very short vertical and very long horizontal component. And then the whole thing is being driven by probably the oldest D104 that you've ever seen. So that's the deal here. Receiver is a Hammerman HQ110A, which is so-so. And that's about it. So back to the net. This is AI4XD.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ted, that Viking 2 is sounding really good. It's doing a great job for you. And, you know, we're blessed tonight. I'm going to knock on wood here. I modulated halfway decently. We're blessed with not a whole lot of QRM. In the early days of this net on the AM night, there'd sometimes be quite a bit of QRM. And actually, tonight it sounds pretty darn good. Like I said, I guess I'll have to knock on wood. Maybe I ought to knock on my elbow stop. That the fact that there is no QRM is making it entirely doable with the old R388, and I would suspect with the HQ110 too. So that's the real reason I use the R4C is to get the crystal filter selectivity. But sounds like this is doing okay, so we hope it stays that way. Okay, I think this is Borgie, K8CJY K8CJY. Is that you from NM4A? Go ahead. Is Borgie in there?
He indicated he might not stay up that late, so looks like he has left the premises.
Okay, sorry about that. My goodness, I thought that Borgie would check in on 3085 at noon on Sundays with us quite a bit, and he always had very interesting transmitters that he made. He had some really cool stuff. Okay, let's go to N9KZI. N9KZI. Looks like he's got some Harris equipment. What have you ever heard of that company? N9KZI, over to you from NM4A in the net.
Thanks, Bill. NM4A, N9KZI. Bill, I'm on the far north side of Indianapolis, a little city called Westville, and I am running a full Harris station analysis, which consists of a RF350, which is the RT1446, and I've got the RF355 500-watt amplifier remoted out in the garage. That's the AM7223, and it's probably running about 500 watts PEP. I have not measured it, so I'm not really sure. I don't use AM on it much, so I'm not really sure how it does. And I've got the RF351 antenna coupler, which is the URC-113. That's at the other end of the property, feeding a 110-foot inverted L. And I could not get it to work on 160, and I actually had a problem in it, and I finally got it working today, so good timing. And for my audio chain, I'm kind of an ex-broadcast, but I always loved the Shure 450. It's got a nice rising high frequency response, and I feed that into a Rane VP12 voice processor, which I only use it for the preamp and the gate, and then I go into a used VIP 110 voice intelligibility processor, which is rather rare, I used to put them in gymnasiums until we got the line array systems. And then that feeds into a which is essentially a audio DSP that I got from the long time.
Okay, sounds like N9KZY, who was doing really good with the pacer bounce and everything, is having some technical difficulties. Let's try him one more time. N9KZY, are you out there from NM4A? Okay, I'm going to assume that he's having some technical difficulties. I think we got the most of it there. And of course, that sounds like some good old equipment. I have a Shure 540, but I don't have a 450. So that's interesting. The 540 was used a lot for PA system work and stuff. But that's interesting. I'm not familiar with the 450. I'm going to have to check that out. Okay, N9RC. N9RC. Ron, I'll bet you're running some sort of newfangled thing from NM4A.
Okay, am I on the air? Yeah, looks like I am. I think I'm on the air. KZY was on upper sideband AM. I'm listening on AM and lower sideband, and the lower sideband didn't work. And I remember he said his rig was on upper sideband AM, which it is. So I can testify to that. I'm running. I'm trying to run a. Boy, it doesn't look good. I'm trying to run my audio scope and audio spectral monitor in one Win4K4, and it's not doing anything right now. So I'll have to. I thought I had it working at one point, but it evidently is not doing quite the right thing. It actually transmits audio down from the rig itself, but I think it's just using the monitor audio. Okay, I'm running an Elecraft K4 and a KPA 1500. I'm running around 300 watts of carrier and around 11 or 1200 watts of sheet output. I have an inverted L antenna, which is a DX Engineering 43-foot vertical modified to 50 feet. And my recommendation is to not do that, and its guide, you definitely have to guide when you lengthen it. It's fairly rigid otherwise. And I have a system where I attach the wire to the top of it, and that's the horizontal part of the inverted L. It runs up into the woods. So that's the top of the antenna. The bottom is about 20 radios. I've got about 5 generations of radios on my property, and this is like generation 4. There's about 20 radios. And I probably have 70 or 80 radios altogether running all over the place. They're still connected together, but not so well. And I've got fence wire laid down at the base of the antenna, going out about 15 feet around the base of the antenna. So that's the antenna set up, and that's about it. I have no audio scope, no spectral scope. I'm looking at NM4A in the group. This is N9RC.
Okay, N9RC, sorry about that. You heard me pick up the mic. NM4A. Well, you hit 5.9 plus 10 at one point, Ron, and it's sounding good. Yeah, I think I got generations of wires floating around somewhere in the woods out here, too. So, hey, you got it running. And that reminded me that I didn't mention the Heathkit BC 610 monitor scope that I got pressed into service tonight. If I have a little more time to do the setup, I haul out the Tektronix 454 and hook it up. It's got a nice, Tektronix is the best triggering and the brightest screens. And I always, get that baby out on AM night to watch it dance, but didn't have time this year. But maybe next year. Anyway, sounding good, Ron. Good to hear you. Okay, now, and by the way, on that upper sideband AM, carrier with upper sideband, yeah, I think the TR7, Drake TR7 did that, and that was a common military thing. That was a very common military thing to do. So there you go. Okay, K8CJY, James in Alexandria, Virginia. K8CJY, the equipment's not listed here, but I'll bet it's something broadcast. Over to you from NM4A.
NM4A, K8CJY. Really growling and noise tonight. I don't know what's going on. It's normally very quiet here on 160, but I'm doing my best. I had the big iron up this afternoon, the column 20V2, but something happened here. I lost drive to the RF bit. Haven't had time to chit chat. So here on the icon, Okay, very good, James. K8CJY from NM4A. And I think the pass between you and I is not optimal. But you were 5.7, 100% copy. But the meter wasn't doing a whole lot, but 100% copy. And yeah, that's the biggest bugaboo here on 160, especially on AM, when you get that noise going and people got the flashing Christmas tree lights. Especially the old-fashioned ones. They use it all day with those babies with beauties. Okay, now we're going to go to, speaking of beauties, someone that's in the shadow of the 700 W8 antenna tower. Well, at least the RF shadow. And maybe, I don't know, maybe during the day at sundown or something. I don't know. W8XO. Dave, is Skip running AM tonight from NM4A the Net? Something slightly off frequency here. Dave, W8XO, are you out there or were you short time?
Skip indicated that he might not be back in the low hours, so there you go. CJY here.
Yeah, I think that was the case. He's probably not... and I heard that. I happened to hear him when he came here, and I happened to have heard him when he came on earlier, and I think that was the case. Okay, let's see if W8LYX. That's another big signal, and another former broadcast guy. W8LYX. Are you out there, Bill? From NM4A the Net.
That's Bob, W8LXJ.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's W8LXJ. That's Bob in Chillicothe. I didn't confuse with Bill. Oh, Bob, excuse me. I'm sorry. Now, see, I can't even. Well, it used to be copy with typewriter. You could read it on a computer screen. I don't know. W8LXJ. Over to you from NM4A the Net. He was short time, Jay?
No, he's, he was online and about, looks like about 15 minutes ago he went offline.
Oh, yeah, I did see that on the almost instant messages. So, yeah, I guess he's run for a while. Okay, well, hey, and I remember, I think I talked to him a number of times on 3885 and some of the other bands. So it would have been good to hear him, but I know this is a long night. Okay, let's go down to Malabar, Florida. And my goodness gracious, I was wondering if John had it on the air tonight, and he's got his GPT 750 on. Except I think he's got the real AM McCoy with the 810 modulators and the 4-250s in the final. Am I right, John? K8CJY from NM4A the Net.
NM4A, K8CJY. By the way,
you are Lima Charlie. Go ahead.
Yeah, I run the old this one with the RTM plate modulator with the and of course the master oscillator the check system won't go much below 2 megacycles, so I'm running an external synthesizer, a WaveTech 5130, which is locked to a the audio processing is from a Orband 9105 Optimon HS processor with 10 attachment equipment turned on, so it's probably got a bit of a bite to it. We're rolling off for about 250 cycles to try to minimize the excessive low frequency response. And the transmit antenna is a 8-wavelength vertical with about 160 watt radios. The radios are very short, they're only 8-wavelength as well. That's a large number of radios. But it keeps light pretty low. It's overkill on the higher bands, but with the terrible sandy soil that we have here, you need all the ground radios you can get if you're going to run electrically small antenna. So I just kept adding more and more radios until I didn't see any substantial change in the real polarization gains, which is not very much higher than the theoretical value. So I guess it must be about right. But the Q sure is high. I tell you, it's quite narrow. And the receiver is a military ANFRR41 diversity receiver. All vacuum tubes, including the 2 frequency synthesizers, which were made by Manual Laboratories. And also discipline precision standard. And myself by laser carrier out of the hole. So the receiver antenna is a Schiz A6 array, 30 feet tall at the apex. And so that's the setup here, Bill. Nice signal down here. Signals from W8GNM WR4 on the BC610 sounding good. I like the BC610 audio better. I think the audio was better on the BC610, although maybe the power was better on the higher pitch. And KATE with a good signal, K8CJY, signal W4Y. Good readable down here in Florida too. I didn't write down any more than that. I got the money. I think that's WT.
Okay, John, K9WT, great to hear you from NM4A. You know, I thought the BC610 sounded as good or better, too. Of course, you know, I have a preference for the older equipment, but nonetheless, it was holding its own quite well. And you are sounding very good on your system down there. That is a nice system. I know what you mean about the ground connectivity down there in the sand. And but it's sounding wonderful, and it's great to hear the good old boy on the air. I hope my GPT 750 sounds as good. I'm using it in the linear mode, and so I'm only putting out about 200 watts carrier here, which I guess is enough for tonight, although I would think sometimes with the noise and stuff that a couple of stations were talking about, getting that extra 175 watts, getting up to 375 would probably be worthwhile. And I'm going to try to do that sometime. But I'll tell you what, that sounded good to hear you. Okay, let's go on down now to K8CJY. K8CJY, and it sounds like he's got some real live Collins gear going. K8CJY from NM4A in the 1936 net. Over to you.
Okay, NM4A K8CJY for the 1936 net. Good evening, everyone. And this is actually been a little battle. Just started around 9 o'clock. It's not bad, but everybody's coming in fairly decent now. Even a magnetic loop because it's a Collins 75 A4 sample here to try to cut through the crud as best I can. Here on the transmit side, I'm running a 4-photo array vertical with a Collins 20V3 transmitter, being fed by a Univolt S22 with a Behringer Ultra Voice Pro and a cheap $45 microphone. And watching the modulation with a NM2C modulation monitor. And it's been a fairly decent night compared to past years. The previous year we had a lot of static pressure. It's relatively low moon for the most part. Even though we have a lot of custom threads y'all cutting through the crowd, so to speak. Anyway, I said back over to you, Bill, on NM4A. It is K8CJY.
Okay, K8CJY from Nevada Rank 4 Alpha. Well, I'll tell you what, that quarter wave vertical is probably everybody's dream antenna here on the net. Probably the dream antenna that everyone would like to have, and it's sounding good up here. You're a solid 5'9" coming all the way from Florida, and we are pretty far apart. Sounding good and nice steady signal too. Nice steady signal. So the old Collins is doing it to it, and that's that is some real classic stuff. So we've had a great assortment of ring panels tonight, and that is certainly into the variety of rigs. Now I'm going to try for W8WS RADIO. Carlos, surprise B&B there, because I know Carlos has to work early in the morning, but he might be off for the holidays. So let's see. W8WS RADIO with a big old dipole. Over to you from NM4A the Net.
Okie dokie, Bill. NM4A and the group. W8WS RADIO. Everybody's sounding excellent out here at California, Kentucky. No trouble at all copying anybody at all. Yes, I'm on the full wave 160 dipole. It's 3/4 wave to the southeast and quarter wave to the northwest. Apex is about 59 feet underneath my 10-meter foursquare, and optimized the windmill towers to make the supports for the rest of the antenna. You're out here on the farm, in the cabin, about the middle of the farm here at California, Kentucky. I'm talking on a ICOM 705 into a HLA 150. I'm watching it here. It's has a carrier about 45 watts out of the amp, and probably about 75. Not much, but receiving everybody excellent on the antenna. Bill, excellent net, and you're right. Going to work in the morning, and I didn't get a hall pass to be down here this late. Best of 7-3. NM4A and the group. Sounding great here at California, Kentucky. W8WS RADIO.
Alrighty, Carl. Brad, it's great to hear you. W8WS RADIO. I knew you had that big antenna. Real quick, Carl, are you operating from the real live ham shack? Carl has a real live shack, a cabin. Carl, are you operating from there, Blake?
Yeah, I'm in the shack on the battery radio high.
Okie dokie. Yep, he's got a separate shack outside, just like in the good old days. It's spelled D-A-Z-E. Carl, great to hear you, and thanks for joining us on the special AM session of the 1936 net. Okay, now we're going to go to Indiana, and N9ZRO. That's Alan. N9ZRO in Indiana. Over to you from NM4A the Net. Yeah, N9 Zulu, Romeo Oscar. Go ahead with your comments from NM4A the Net. Roger, we hear you. I'm going to say 3x6, but do a 3.6, but for what you're using, that's pretty good. I miss a word or two now and then, but I get almost all of it, and it's very clear audio, so that part helps. And there's just enough noise in the background that gives you a little competition. But I'll tell you what, thank you for joining us, and that is a nice setup there. That's real nice. So thank you for stopping in tonight, and we do appreciate him for hanging in there. Okay, now we're going to go, down to Georgia. WC4X, that's Mr. Ned, and I think Mr. Ned has some of that new classic equipment. Is that right? WC4X from NM4A the Net.
WC4X name is Ned, November Echo Delta, and I'm up in the North Georgia mountains, about 100 miles north of Atlanta, and running on Elecraft K4B, driving an Elecraft KPA 1500 amp, peaking about 1100 watts PEP right now. The antenna is a vertical with T-top and 4 elevated radials, system designed and modeled by no other than Jeff, W8GNM. It works great, I love it. And for receive antennas, we have 2 BevFlex 4 beavers, one aimed northeast southwest and the other northwest southeast. And that system works very good for us. So it's good to hear everybody and hear all the various equipment and some of the old stuff and all the new stuff. So let's start it from here, and we'll listen around a little bit more. NM4A and the group, WC4X.
All righty, WC4X from NM4A the Net. Well, I'll tell you what, the equipment's doing well. And that antenna sounds very interesting. It's doing very well up here. And you're a solid 5.9, just a solid signal, coming in loud and clear on the old R388. So great to hear you tonight, and I look forward. I know you check in a lot of times on the local stations and that, and looking forward to hearing you again there too. Okay, K0 Delta Victor. K0 Delta Victor. This is going to be a little bit of a. This is out in Iowa. This is going to be a little bit of a hop, but let's see if we can do it. K0DV from NM4A the Net. Over to you.
Okay, NM4A and this is K0DV.
Good copy on you tonight, Bill. We're here in Florida and operating remotely with Palm Beach, and the transfer is in Cedar Falls, Florida. And I'm running the match phone here with the Flex 6700 in Cedar Falls. And it's amplifier along with the TCXL2. And we're running about 4 supply out tonight. And settings with about 300 watts. About the 1500 watts level here with the amplifier. The antenna is a 160 meter inverted V. It is like 60 feet. And this is all laying down to 9 feet. And just measured home. It was very helpful in helping me design this to work in my lap. Appreciate it. And we're running a Brown energy up top. And the other system here is interesting. We weren't using a hand mic. I'm using a mic flex tail. And it is the mic is the Radio Technica. It is a USB mic. It goes into my computer, which is here on the cover. And the computer has an earphone output. And I run that into the Maestro line in, and that seems to present a very nice audio rather than a hand mic. Okay, so that's what we're doing right here. That's been the first time I've been on AM in many, many years. I used to be on the Braille Viking region, which still works, so hopefully I can get it on a net like this. So back to you, Bill. NM4A to 0 Delta Victor remote base.
Wow, I'll tell you what, that remote base is working very well. K0 Delta Victor. Well, first of all, it's a great, to where the remote base is here to Kentucky, the Cincinnati area, is quite a hike. But, and of course, you know, with all the having to go through the remote base hookup and everything, it is working very, very well. It sounds great. It sounds great. 100% copy, solid 5x8 signal, no problem whatsoever. So good to hear you. Thanks for joining us. Walter, KU4XA. Wally, are you out there? KU4XA. This is NM4A the Net. Over to you.
NM4A and the message is KU4XA. Normally on AM 9 I'm checking into my phone with a 160 meter inverted V and a kilowatt, but tonight it's quite compromised. I'm at my home QTH, which is an N-unit townhome, 5 miles west-southwest of downtown Cincinnati, and using a stealth antenna that most closely resembles an inverted L, but it's meant to fit the available space here. I'm using very boring, nothing exciting here, IC 7300 with low-level modulation, and I'm using an ARS 500 amp, which gives me a grand total on peaks of about 300 watts, if I'm lucky. But that's the story here, NM4A from KU4XA.
Okay, Wally. KU4XA from NM4A, and I can tell you guys that Wally's had to go through trials and tribulations to be able to operate from the townhome there. The Homeowners Association literally chopped down his tree that held the antenna up, and they had to scurry and get it back on the air. And Wally, you're doing good. It sounds marvelous. So, of course, now we're not that far apart. He's a little bit to the south. Well, you're probably northwest of me, Wally, a little bit, or maybe just due west, but not that far from me at all. He's in northern Kentucky also. So good to hear you, Wally. Thanks for joining us, and hang in there. Okay, now we're going to go to another northern Kentuckian. It's Bob, KG4MVN, over in Independence. Bob, it's NM4A in the Net. Welcome aboard. Go ahead, Bob. KG4MBN, NM4A. Well, I'll tell you what, your setup's doing good for you. And by the way, Happy New Year to you and everyone. Hope everybody has a prosperous, enjoyable, and safe New Year. And you're 5'7", Bob. So sounding good on the old R388 here with the 10 speaker. Okay. Let's go on down to K3WD in Virginia. That's still K3WD in Virginia, and it sounds like you got some of that new vintage equipment too. K3WD, over to you from NM4A the Net. Okay, was that an over? Okay, no help there. I think that was an over. You know, Bill, I can copy you. I can copy you, but it's right out of the noise. So the propagation. I don't know if our antennas are not aligned properly, or if the propagation has changed, or if the QSP. I could tell you were talking, got your call, got some of it, but it was just out of the noise. Pretty rough. I hope you're hearing me okay. It's probably the same way going to you. But thanks for joining us tonight on our 8 a.m. night. Good to hear you. And sometimes, it's amazing. You just wait 15, 20 minutes, a half hour, things are completely different. All right, let's go on up to Ohio now. Kilo Bravo 8 MDF. Kilo Bravo 8 Mike Delta Foxtrot. This is NM4A in the Net. Over to you. Jay, I think he may have been a short timer, right? I'm going to assume that was the case. Okay, so how about K8CJY? K8CJY up in Illinois. That's Pierre. Are you there, Pierre, from NM4A in the Net?
I think he had to check out, Phil. I think he had to check out. This is SWT for relay.
All righty, K9FWT. Thank you very much for the relay there. And I'm looking, K9F. You said that was FWT. I got you on my list right here. You're coming up shortly. Okay, thank you, and thank you for the heads up on that. All right, now speaking of northern Kentucky, I am going to go just south of here, and to Big Bone, Kentucky. This is a historical place also, where they found all the dinosaur bones. They even got a state park there, Jack, right? AB4WS from NM4A the Net. Over to you, Jackson.
Okay, Bill, NM4A in the group. This is AB4WS, Jack in Big Bone, Kentucky, and I've got tons of snide comments, none of which are appropriate for amateur radio, that I'll pass on. But good evening, everyone. Enjoying the annual event as usual. Tonight we're using an ICOM 7610 feeding that into an Ameritron ALS 500M, putting what looks like maybe a couple 100 watts AM signal out to the 160-meter G5 RV, strung up about 60 feet in the air in the back. Anyway, nothing else really to report here. Bill, enjoyed it as usual. You're doing a great job as always, and thanks for allowing us to be part of the annual great event here on 1936 megahertz, or 1936 kilohertz, excuse me. With that, 73, everybody, from Big Bone, Kentucky. This is AB4WS.
Okay, Jack, AB4WS from NM4A. Well, man, you're sounding good. Of course, we're not that far apart, but you're 5'9" plus 30, and I can hear the radios in the background. Jack, you know, you've heard of multitasking. Well, Jack is a multi-listener. He has several radios always playing in the background there, and you can always tell when the signal is good because you can hear all that stuff coming through in the background. Of course, Jack comes through very well right over top of it. Beautiful, easy-to-copy signal, Jack. So good to hear you tonight. It's working well. It's working well. And I suspected you may have had a couple comments that may not be suitable for transmission. Okay, we got N5XDM. N5XDM. That is, he's short time. So I'm going to take a quick break, see if he's out there. N5XDM, are you there? Okay, he's not there, and I'm going to recognize KU4YW. KU4YW. He's unable to transmit. He checked in by a net logger. He was listening earlier. David, if you're still listening, I'll tell you what, if you send me, I can't give you a report, obviously, because you're not transmitting. If you get on the net logger, if you're still on there, send me a report, and I'll put you in the log as turning in a reception report. Jay and Jeff have the official log. I keep my own unofficial copy just for, I don't know, for some reason. But anyway, that's what I got here. Okay, let's see. Now we're going to go to K8CJY. That's Ken and Cary, Illinois. And it looks like, well, the AL811, that's 3 811As. I heard you talking about that earlier. I have an old 30L1 over there with 4 811As in it. Of course, it don't run on 160. But the 811A, I always thought was one of the best things RCA ever did. So down to you. K8CJY from NM4A in the Net.
Yeah, the net, K8CJY. Let me just check the frequency again and say how much this thing is costing. Oh, it's a little bit high. We'll bring it down a little bit. It's not the National Bureau of Standards exactly. Thanks for running the net. Thanks for picking me up. And it's great to hear you. And I'm thinking back, I recognize the call. I think used to be a nested class of the 3905 Century. This is back about 1980, 81 or something like that. The call sounds real familiar. Anyway, I'm running the F210 and the AL811, about 100 watts. And the antenna is 160 meters. Every Thursday on site and last of the year, our science section on the diet, the driver right is going to be on the AM signal. So thanks for your vaccine. NM4A group, K9SWT.
Okie dokie, K9FWT from NM4A. Well, about a 4x6 on the signal, but 100% copy, no problem at all. And you know, we are a fair distance apart, so that's doing pretty good for 100 watts. You're sounding pretty darn good. So thank you for joining us here. Oh, and thanks for the heads up on the other signal. It is appreciated. Okay, that gets us to the end of the current list, and we're going to go to Algonquin, Illinois, WB8 Bravo Zulu Kilo. WB8 Bravo Zulu Kilo from NM4A in the Net. Over to you. righty. Very good. Very good. WBABZK. Again, that was about I'm going to say a 3x4, but I copied it all. But the noise, it kind of come up here a little bit, but we got you, and it's great to hear you. It's great to hear you, and thanks for being there and getting on the net with us, and hope you can make it not only every year on AM night, but every Thursday night throughout the year. So good to hear you. All right, we are at the end of the list. Can you believe it? Holy cow, we're at the end of the list. So I'm going to ask now, are there any other stations for the net? Please call now. Do we have any relays? Wow, looks like I bored them all into silence. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I think what would be appropriate is to go to our two net managers for some final comments here. W8GNM, then K8CJY, and then I'll do the formal net closing. But great to hear everyone tonight. I really enjoyed it. I hope everybody else had as much fun. W8GNM, do you have any final comments from NM4A?
Okay, Bill. NM4A in the net. This W8GNM. No, it was great fun. It was a good net, and the band was quieter than usual this evening. Not so much time. Say hi to my two friends down in Florida. They both Walter and John came through really well, like 10 to 15 over. Great audio here, and Ned down in Georgia came through very well. As did virtually everybody else I could copy. I was able to copy all 34 stations that checked in. So, at any rate, we'd like to thank everybody for making the effort to get out your AM equipment. I know it takes a little time to set things up and make sure everything's working right. And we appreciate that, and we'll look forward to another great AM night next year. In the meantime, I'd like to invite everybody that's checked in this evening to join us every Thursday night at 9 p.m. this time of year. That's at 0200 Zulu, 9 p.m. Eastern for the 1936 net on single sideband. We always have a good group, and we generally have a good discussion topic or trivia questions. So next week we'll be back on single sideband, lower sideband, and would be glad to have any and all of you check in then. So 73, Happy New Year to everybody, and we'll look for you in next year's net, which is next week. Hi. This W8GNM, Catawba Island, signing clear.
Thanks, Jeff. Over to you, Jay.
Okay, very good. Well, Jeff summarized it quite well. We're looking forward to 2024 and the sideband operations here on 1936 on Thursday nights. Ki4BFN is up for the net control for the month of January. We're going to follow pretty much the same schedule that we have in 2023. We can discuss it a little bit on our first gathering next week to smooth out any wrinkles if someone can't handle a month or needs assist. But as Jeff and I have pointed out, we've always been here to kind of fill in if needed. The only other question I have, Bill, is I stepped out of the room for N9ZRO, and I have a blank there for what he's running. Would like to fill that in, and before I archive the net log check-in tonight, do you happen to remember what he was running? N9ZRO. Go ahead.
No, I did not make notes of all the equipment on my list. I'm sorry. Jeff, I wonder if you know W8GNM from NM4A.
No, I didn't hear what Alan is running either. So, well, you could check his QRZ page, and you might get an idea there. I'll take a look and see.
Okay, now N9ZRO, I wonder, I don't know, are you still on frequency? N9ZRO from NM4A. does anybody have any relays or know what he was running? All right, well, I guess I'll take that as a no. Okay, well, hey, I'll tell you what, it was great hearing everybody tonight, and like Jeff said, maybe we'll find out from doing some snooping on the internet. But anyway, great to hear everyone tonight. I had a bad bout with Murphy's Law. Ever since Christmas Day in the evening, things have been, well, Murphy is, I guess, was wrapped up in one of the presents. He must have snuck in. And I'll tell you what, this has been the first pleasant surprise ever since then. Christmas went fine, but I mean, that night, especially with automobiles breaking down and, illnesses and stuff like that. But I'll tell you what, this was an extremely enjoyable AM night here. I was skeptical that I'd be able to manage it with just the R388 receiver. But I think I heard just about everyone on the net. So that amazes me, because I remember years past when copy would get really rough sometimes. Well, before I close the net, let me ask, are there any final comments for the net? Please call now.
N9ZRO does have an email address on his QRZ page, so maybe you want to shoot him an email, Jay, and you can fill in the blanks from that. 73 and good night from W8GNM.
Okay, W8GNM, and I am going to do something here that I remembered not to do a few years ago. Okay, I just did it. I said, by the way, if anybody's following on NetLogger and you want to save the list of check-ins, hurry up and go to File and hit Save Check-ins, and you can get a copy of it before it disappears forever into the bit bucket. I'm showing my age with a bit bucket, ain't I? Okay, well, on that note then, I'll say this is November Mike 4 Alpha, now closing the 1936 net, and returning this frequency to normal and customary amateur radio use. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Bill. 7-3s, and Happy New Year a little bit early. We'll catch everyone in the next year. This is K8CJY going QRT.
Great net, Bill. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. 9KZI.
All righty. Hey, guys, thanks. And to all the guys that did the sign-up, thank you. 7-3 all from NM4A, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Go Bearcats.
There you go. Go Bearcats. Go Bearcats.
W8GXG.